Hi guys, it's Fresh here again with Amino Z, and I'm the personal trainer with Amino Z, and today's webinar is going to be on smart bodybuilding. What is that? That means your timing, your nutrition, your splitting, setting up your programming, and reasoning for all of those things. So how can you guys become better, more efficient, more effective at bodybuilding? This webinar was inspired by all the Q&A questions that I've been getting lately for our Q&A Wednesdays, which is every Wednesday from 1 to 2 p.m. From guys and from girls also looking to improve their strength faster or improve hypertrophy or kind of how to break through your plateaus. So this webinar, which we're going high-tech now, we're going to start a PowerPoint and I'm going to take you through it, is going to answer all of those questions. So enjoy.
So here we go. We're going to talk about smart bodybuilding here. Timing, splitting, nutrition, reasoning, examples, how to get through each of your phases successfully. So some of the things that we're going to cover today, identifying your goals. That's always super important so that we know exactly where you are. Your nutrition basics for bulking versus cutting. The intensity, density, and volume of your training. And then finally we're going to have examples on splitting days. So we've heard about the 2-day split, 3-day split, 4-day split, all the way up to 6 or 7-day split. And we're going to give you some examples on those. So the first thing that you've got to do here is identify your goals. Yeah, like I always tell people, getting bigger is not a goal. Your goal has to be something that you can measure. It's got to be really specific, and it's got to be reasonable. Also, something people often fail at their goals because they're not reasonable or flexible. So life being as it is, nothing is ever stable, nothing is ever the same forever. So, you got to be able to push through and adjust your goals as your circumstances change. So, you're starting school or you're starting a new job, you've got to be able to have goals which are flexible enough to roll with that. So, a bad goal is get bigger, whereas a good goal is increase my bicep diameter by 2 centimeters by December 25th. We've got something measurable, we've got a date, we've got a deadline, we know exactly what we're going for, it's super specific, and you can then create your program to fit your goal. So get bigger is super general, whereas reduce waistline by 5 centimeters by January 1st. That is exactly a very detailed goal. So I put in some not so good goal samples also. Get bigger, get super huge, look like Arnold in a year. That sounds pretty unreasonable and unlikely. Nothing wrong with dreaming big, but still. Things like get bigger arms and lose my stomach fat, and also make a six-pack. That's not a goal. Those are kind of loose dreams, but actual goals are measurable and specific. Okay, so we'll move on here, and we're going to go into how to identify your goals. So when you're finding your goals, you got to basically think of how you're going to create your plan of action around those goals. So whatever your goal is, write it down. Let's get something measurable here, something that's realistic. So like we said, the 2 centimeters on the bicep for December 25th. Okay, on Christmas morning, your gift to yourself is going to be 2 centimeters more on the diameter of your biceps. So let's create a plan of action. How often are you going to train? How long? Which days of the week are you going to train? Where are you going to train? These are all really, it seems obvious sometimes, but if you don't plan these things out, that's when you end up failing. What exercises or program will you be following? So where are you going to get that program from even? Is it flexible, reliable? How are you going to arrange the rest of your life to accommodate the goal? And finally, another really big one that people often go wrong on is they forget to plan for obstacles. What kind of obstacles are going to get in your way? What might you encounter, and how are you going to prepare for them? How are you going to overcome them? All right, so a good sample plan of action is, for example, to say, my training will take place 5 days per week on a 5-day split, lasting 45 to 70 minutes each at your local gym. So you've got to make sure you've got your gym membership or you've got your equipment at home. You've got enough time, so you're planning the 45 minutes to 70 minutes each, so you know which days you'll have that kind of time to train on. The nutrition plan is a nutrition plan designed to bulk, and it's a program created specifically for me by my trainer. We want, a 6 weeks till the goal date, so it's a 6-week plan, 6-week program. And we know exactly, we can even write it right at the top of your goal is to increase your bicep diameter or chest diameter by 4 centimeters or whatever the amount might be. Finally, the barrier to overcome. I might be tempted to go drinking with my mates, so I am limiting myself to 3 drinks per week and only 1 night of going out per week. So now you've got your plan of action all set and you're ready to get going. All right, so we're going to move on to nutrition basics. Cutting versus bulking. Guys, I can't stand, I see so many people are looking to do the same thing at the same time. You can't do both cut and bulk. Reason being, cutting is losing fat, and to lose fat you need to have a caloric deficit. To bulk, you need to gain mass, which means you need to have a caloric surplus. So it's super simple. This is like you're going to be pulling on the rope at 2 ends. It's impossible. You can't do it. You can't do both at the same time. Inevitably, there would be some crossover. Like if you start bulking up, it's possible that your body will also start to burn some fat as you're bulking up. But don't try and do both at the same time. Especially once you get up once you start getting better and your body fat goes down, and it's going to be harder and harder to make the gains all at the same time. So you've got to do a few things when you're cutting. So when you're cutting, here are some general rules that you can follow. First of all, you're going to have to cut down your overall caloric intake to meet your needs. So you have to find out what is your basal metabolic rate. That's your basic needs. So the basic needs in a 24-hour period just for your body to function. For most guys, it's somewhere around 2,000 calories a day. And that's just a real ballpark figure, depending on your size and your genetics and your level of activity, your history of activity, your metabolism. That's really going to vary from person to person. When you're cutting, you do want to increase the proteins and fats and add a variety of each. You also will want to increase your omega-3s. And of course, you have to change your training program to a maintenance or cutting phase to match your nutrition. You won't be able to continue using the same training phase while you're cutting. So I just thought I'd throw that in there just so people understand. When you're cutting, do not burn out on your training. Okay? Do not cut out all of your carbs. You will still need some carbs. It's going to be a very small amount, even if it's 100 to 150 grams of carbohydrates per day. Don't cut everything out. You will still need some just to maintain a minimal amount of health and to get you through your cutting training program. Okay? Do not eat junk. No more simple carbs. No more juices. Okay? And finally, don't do crazy cardio programs. Your high intensity interval training will work like magic. So you don't have to run on the treadmill for hours and hours just because you want to cut for fear of losing a ton of muscle mass. All right. So how do you know how to cut and bulk? So what's the math behind it? How much are you supposed to eat? I get this question all the time. How many calories should I be eating? Well, I can't tell you that just like that because it's really going to depend on your size, your genetics, the sex of the person, training history, athletic history, metabolism. We went over those already. It's really going to depend based on that. So what you can do is start to experiment and document your results using a couple of different programs, and then you'll be able to find out which method works well for you. So give it a week or two, and you'll be able to figure out. So first, we have to find out your basal metabolic rate and work out from there. So some basic rules you can follow. Your BMR, or basal metabolic rate, is going to be the amount that you burn in a 24-hour period just to function. For most guys, you're looking at around 1,800 calories in a 24-hour period. If you exercise, you're going to be burning more calories. So you've got to add to the 1,800 however many calories you are burning in your session. So if you're doing a moderate intensity for 45 minutes, you might burn, 550 calories. Okay? Now, when you're cutting, what you want to have is the right macronutrient profile and create a deficit based on the total amount of calories. So maybe working at 1,800 or off of 2,000 or off of 2,200 calories in a 24-hour period will create the deficit for you. So when to split your food, you're going to have to keep track of the percentage of food that you're taking in. So when we write 35, 40, 25 for cutting, that's 35% of your diet should be coming from carbs, 40% should be coming from protein, and 25% should be coming from fats. And of course, we're talking about the healthy fats here, the omega-3s and stuff. Um, Now, these numbers are arguable, and there's a lot of different schools of belief. So I'm giving you this, and take it with a grain of salt, and you can play around with that sort of ratio to find out what's right for you. Um, when we're bulking, we're doing the exact opposite. You're going to need a lot more carbs, so you can look at more like 60% carbs, 30% protein, and just 10% of fats. And you can play with that fat amount. 25% fat, for a lot of people, they would consider that insane. But I'm assuming that you're eating the skin of the chicken, fatty things like that. Butter, oils, avocado, things that are fatty. And when you're bulking, of course, you can split up some of those carbs and put them more, the fats, and move them into the carbohydrate category. And what we're going to want to do there is make sure that we're getting a surplus of 400 to 500 calories above your daily need. Okay, so if your daily need in your bulking phase is going to be, 2,500 to get through the day, well, go for at least, 3,000 calories in the day. Okay, you'll definitely notice a lot of weight gain, and that's what we want. We want to get as much food in as possible, within reason, without going crazy. If you're not sure about how much calorie you're getting for each gram of food, you've got 4 calories per gram of carbs and 4 calories per gram of protein. So food that says, for example, 2 grams of protein per serving, you can know that you're getting just 8 calories from that. Okay? All right. Last thing is, of course, 9 calories per gram from fat. So much, much more, many more calories of energy is what you're going to get from the fats. So we're going to move on. Intensity, density, and volume. It's important to remember that just because something is good, more of it is not great. I really feel awful for people who think that if one thing is healthy, then they need to have a crap load of that. The intensity is how hard the work is. So that means how heavy the weight is or how close you are to your max. The density is going to be a measure of how much work versus rest is being done. So that means how much time is being spent doing work versus how much time is spent doing rest. And then the volume is a measure of literally how much work is being done, the total reps over the total number of sets and everything. So based on the phase that you're in, so the cycle that you're in, either strength, hypertrophy, or in cutting, you'll need to adjust each of these to the right level in order to reach your objective. So we're going to run through for each objective how your intensity, density, and volume should be. For the strength phase, so bodybuilding is made up of many phases and cycles, as we said, and the strength phase is going to be the first one. So we want to build up as much strength as possible. Yes, there will be crossover. I always tell people, even when you're in the strength phase, you will probably get bigger, and you will probably or possibly also lose some fat, and you're going to be gaining a lot of mass. Anyhow, so for the strength phase, we want to increase the intensity, and we're going to keep the volume low, and we're going to have a low density as well. So what does all that actually mean? It means we want to have 3 to 5 repetitions of 4 to 5 sets, and that's going to be at an intensity of 3 rep max to 5 rep max. So hopefully you guys know what your rep max means. It's the maximum number of repetitions that you can do for a particular weight. So a particular weight to get to 3 or a particular weight to get to 5. And then your density is low, so it's going to be really quick to finish those 5, but your rest is going to be a long time. So you're going to get a full recovery of the muscle glycogen to complete each subsequent set. For the experts, you can actually even go higher than the 5 sets. All right, the next one is going to be the hypertrophy phase. So this is the phase where you literally build your volume. You're getting bigger. So we want to have a moderate amount of volume, a moderate intensity, and a high density. So that means we're going to do reps, 5 to 10 reps. Some people even go higher, but I don't know, 12 or 15. So it's going to be a moderate volume. You can play around with these numbers more. 3 to 5 sets. Again, a really big, you can kind of choose what feels right for you. The intensity is going to be at your 8 to 10 rep max. So we're going to be going very, very close to your rep max. It's going to be heavy, but the real main difference between the other phases and the hypertrophy phase is the density. You're going to be doing sets which have almost equal or less rest than the amount of time it took you to complete the sets. So 10 reps and then 30 seconds or 45 seconds of rest is going to be a real short rest, and each set that comes after is going to be tougher and tougher to complete the same number of repetitions. And I put a note at the bottom here. We want 8 to 10 exercises per session, but you're going to be splitting your days and you're going to be adding in a lot of isolation. So it's going to be a lot of heavy training for hypertrophy. All right, and then the final phase is when you want to start to really look good. So now you're bulked up, you're much stronger, you've been able to lift heavier weights, and we're going to start cutting. Cutting is a unique phase because of the nutrition. Because of the way that you're going to change your diet to try and burn fat, you're not going to be able to work as hard as you did in the strength and the hypertrophy phase. So instead, we're going to switch into a very high volume, a moderate intensity, and a moderate density. So the high volume is going to be 8 to 10 reps, 2 to 3 sets, your 12 to 15 RM. As you can see, that's much higher rep max, so each set is not going to be as tough, and you're going to get a good enough amount of rest that you feel rested for the next set. So 30 to 60 seconds. If you're doing 8 or 10 reps on your 12 or 15 rep max, you're going to feel like you have enough energy left at the end. Okay, also I put in a little note at the bottom there, 5 to 6 exercises, and you want to combine this with HIIT, high intensity interval training set. And the reason for that is, again, we're cutting, so we want to burn as much energy as possible, but we don't want to kill our muscles. We don't want to be shredding the muscles to the point where we can't recover enough. Okay, so it's going to be a bit of a sensitive area, and we'll get to it again a little later, how your cutting can look for the programming. All right, so here we go. How are you going to split your days and your workout? So this is the final step to putting your smart training to work. So the first sample here is a really basic push versus pull 3-day program. When we say 3-day, one of those days may or may not include rest, and in this case the third day is rest. So day 3 of the program is rest, and as you can see, I've put a spreadsheet out for the weekdays, so I'm showing you a sample of what it would look like if you started day 1 on a Monday. However, your days and your weeks have nothing to do with one another. In this case, we're resting every 2 days. So we've got 2 days of work and then 1 day of rest, followed by 2 days of work and 1 day of rest. So at the end on Sunday, you're back to day 1. Therefore, Monday will, in the next week, be day 2, and Tuesday will be day 3 and a rest day. So you've got push, pull, rest, push, pull, rest. If anyone's not sure what that means, push and pull means all the pushing motions and then all the pulling motions. So these are muscles which work together, and you're going to be doing a lot of compound, a lot of dynamic, and even isolation exercises if you want. So those exercises that totally isolate a muscle, you can do, curls and presses and things that isolate the biceps, the triceps on those 2 days. Generally, the workouts will be longer because you have a lot more exercises to do, and you may even choose to use different push and pull exercises. So day 1 on the Monday and day 1 on the Thursday, they're both push days, but you could have a different series of exercises. So maybe a 10 and 10, but they're different variations of each other. Let me give you a sample. Day 1, push for the chest, we have dumbbell bench press. And then day 1 on the Thursday, for the push for the chest, we have barbell bench press. So 2 different exercises using the same muscles, but of course you're going to be using them in slightly different ways. All right, we're going to move on to Sample B. Sample B is another general 3-day program, but this time the rest day is just the day after the 3 days. So all 3 days you're going to be working, so we're going to do 3 days on, 1 day off, 3 days on, 1 day off. And if you follow the program again, on the Thursday, which is the first rest day, the following week the rest day will fall on a Monday. So as you can see, the day of the week has no consequence in these 3-day programs. Alright, so the way we split it up here is that day 1 is going to be your general. Now there are a lot of bodybuilding people who really believe in the general day. 1 day where you're going to do all your compound movements, and then on the subsequent days it's going to be more the isolation movements. So Day one, we're going to do squats, deadlifts, bench press, like really big compound movements. And then on day two, we're going to isolate and we're going to do cable flies, and we're going to do things like that, bicep curls, triceps, things that really isolate. Day three, we're doing all lower body only, so just the legs, and this is where you're going to use your leg press, your leg curl, kind of isolating the quads, isolating the hamstrings. You're going to do your calf raises, things like that for day three on the lower day. So one day is general for compound, and it's going to include the whole body, and then the other 2 days are going to be the isolation for the upper and the lower. Now you can also change the way that you isolate. So I've isolated upper and lower, but depending on what your goal is, let's say you're that guy who has the bicep and chest goal, maybe you want to change it so that one of those days, maybe day three, is a chest and bicep day only, and day two is going to be a different focus. So that way you're getting in 3 to 4 days a week of the chests and the biceps all together. Okay, so we're going to move on. Sample C. Sample C is a 4-day program. And here again, our rest day falls after the outside of the last day. So we've got Friday is a nothing day, and therefore it's a rest. And then your cycle will start again on the Saturday with day one. So your day one will fall on Monday, Saturday, and then the following week it'll fall later on in the week. Okay, so we've got day one, our breakup is legs, and then we've got day two, shoulders and core, day three, chest and tris, day four, back and bis, and then a rest. Now, why have I split them up like this? The shoulders work with the triceps as well as the chest works with the triceps. So you can pair up muscles which work together into the same day. And a lot of people say to me, I've got, I want to hit my back and my bis 2 or 3 times in a week. Okay, so choose a different program. That's one option. These programs are all full body balanced programs. However, you may choose to put day one and day four on your focus item. So if we had, you want your chest and your chest and your arms to be bigger, well, you could add in another day for just the arms on day one. Day two will give them a rest. Day three and day four, you're going to hit them again, and then you're going to get a day of rest before you start it all over again for the first day. Okay? All right. Moving on. Sample D is day 5. So 5-day program. Now we can get a little more specific because you've got a lot of days in here and we don't want to burn out any of those muscles. And in this case, we've got 2 rest days back to back. So this is another way that you can try and isolate, for example, arms. So I've got arms in brackets. So this is a good way of sampling how you can focus on getting bigger arms. Day 1, I've paired chest, tris, and abs. Day 2, we're doing back and biceps. Day 3 is general, where you're not allowed to do isolation. So that's the general for the whole body. Then we've got legs, and then we're back again to shoulders, bis, and tris now we're adding together. So day 5 is kind of your specific day, and you can choose to do whichever part of your body that you want to work on. If you feel like you need to work on your lats and the upper back, well, then you can throw in upper back there instead. And what that's going to do is give you the time between the day 1 and day 2 where you've got the focus, and then give you 2 days in between before you hit them again on the 5th day. So the time that you spend resting is super important here. The body really, really, really needs rest to recover. And then again, you're going to give it 2 days after that of complete rest so you can fully recover. Get your protein in there, get your casein, your nighttime proteins, etc. going for those recoveries. All right, I have one more program split for you. So this is sample E, and we have a 6-day program split. This is again more for the advanced folks. And I've put in day 6 is your isolation as needed. And because we have only 1 day of rest, that's why this is for the advanced people. This is for the guys who've been going to the gym steady for 2-3 years, and you guys are recovering really quick. You really have a good diet, and you just want to have a new way of splitting your days. It's kind of general because we've got day 1 and day 4 are both general days. And then we're using our push and pull split again. Day 3 is going to be legs. So you'll be hitting all of the muscles at least 3 to 4 times per week. And that's a lot. That's really, really intense. I would recommend not following this program for more than 3 or 4 weeks. before changing it out. So remember, on the general days, we've got every single muscle that's going to be hit. We're going to be using compound movements. No isolation allowed on day 1 and day 4. Day 2 is going to be all the push muscles and all the push motions. So we have the chest press, the shoulder presses, things like that. Day 3 is all legs. You can isolate or not isolate as needed, so squats, or you can do curls and presses with the legs. And then finally on day 5, we've got the pull motion, so that's all the back and the biceps working together. Finally, day 6 is going to be your isolation as needed. So whatever it is that you feel like you want to work on, you can work on that day. So if you want to work on the biceps, that's your day for biceps, shoulders or tries or whatever. Sunday will be your day of rest. And that's the only program that really follows a full week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. All right. So that about covers it for the split days. And if you guys have any questions, you can always let us know.
Alright, so that concludes everything, and I've really enjoyed putting together this presentation for you guys. Tune in on Wednesdays, of course, for Q&A between 1 and 2 Sydney time. And you know what? Post your comments and let's share. So stay tuned for in 2 weeks. We're going to be releasing the next webinar. And thanks